Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to Virtual University. I'm your course instructor for your course Training and Development, and we are meeting today for the 25th session. We were talking about training evaluation. In the previous section, we discussed about internal and external validity. We said that an evaluation design need to ensure that it is valid. The results of an evaluation design are valid, but there are certain threats to validity of the results which pertain to two aspects of validity, which are internal validity and external validity. We discussed the various threats to internal and external validity. Today we are going to talk about, first of all, we are going to complete this discussion, how we can reduce the threats to validity. And then we will continue our discussion and we will discuss the various evaluation designs that can be used to measure results of training. And finally, we will discuss about determining the return on investment. So let's talk about how we can reduce the threats to validity. The first thing what we can do is to have pre-tests and post-tests in order to make sure that the effect of individual differences, the effect of baseline skills, the effect of baseline performance does not affect your end results. What we do is that we use pre-tests and post-tests. That is one of the first measure that can be taken to improve the evaluation design. So a pre-test, a comparison of the post-training and pre-training measures can indicate the degree to which trainees have changed as a result of training. So this is what can be used to make sure to see that the change has taken place because of the training. अगर आप ट्रेनिंग से पहले एक टेस्ट ले लेंगे और आप फिर ट्रेनिंग के बाद एक टेस्ट ले लेंगे और जब आप उन दोनों को कंपेयर करेंगे तो आप कुछ कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ, टोटल कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ नहीं कह सकते, लेकिन आप कुछ कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ ये कह सकते हैं कि जो चेंज आया है वो ट्रेनिंग एक्टिविटी की वजह से आया है. तो फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर सेफ्टी बिहेवियर्स 80% ट्रेनिंग से पहले थे और ट्रेनिंग के बाद 95% सेफ बिहेवियर्स नजर आते हैं आपको अपने एम्प्लॉयज के अंदर, सो इसका मतलब है कि जो 15% इफेक्ट हुआ है वो ट्रेनिंग एक्टिविटी की वजह से हुआ. Another measure that can be taken to improve validity is to use comparison groups. Comparison groups are employees who participate in the evaluation study but do not attend the training program. So, evaluation करने में आप अगर comparison group use करें, यानी आप एक ऐसा ग्रुप जिसने ट्रेनिंग अटेंड नहीं की उनके एवैल्यूएशन भी करें, तो उससे क्या होगा कि आप threats to internal validity such as history, such as maturation, आप उनसे you can get rid of those problems. यानी जो external factors, जो external events की वजह से इफेक्ट आ रहा है, जब आप उसको कंपैरिजन ग्रुप से कंपेयर कर लेंगे तो आपके जो रिजल्ट्स हैं ट्रेनिंग अटेंड करने वाले लोगों के और जो कंपैरिजन ग्रुप के, उससे आप उस थ्रेड को निकाल देंगे. तो जिन लोगों ने ट्रेनिंग अटेंड नहीं की उनके साथ भी वही इवेंट हुआ, उनके साथ भी वही प्रोसेस हुआ ग्रोथ का या मैचुरेशन का या चेंज इन एटीट्यूड्स का एक्सटर्नल इवेंट्स की वजह से, और जिन लोगों ने ट्रेनिंग ली उनके साथ भी वही external situations, they happen to them as well. So you can isolate the effect of the learning activity by using that comparison group. Another guideline for reducing the effects of threats to internal and external validity is to use random assignment. Random assignment is assigning employees to the training or comparison group on the basis of chance. Random assignment का आपको मतलब पता ही होगा कि आपकी जो population है उसमें से आप जिन लोगों को select करें वो randomly select करें. यानी आपने जिन लोगों को ट्रेनिंग ग्रुप में भेजना है और कंपैरिजन ग्रुप में भेजना है आप उनको रैंडमली असाइन करें. So a person who is a man or a woman will have the same chance to fall in one group or the other group. So you can reduce or you can get rid of the effect of gender by randomly assigning people on the basis of gender. Then age difference, then background differences, individual differences. If you say that you have assigned people to the groups on random basis, that means that a person with a very good IQ and a person with a very low IQ had the same chance of falling in one group or the other. So because people are assigned to groups on the basis of random assignment, so you can say with some kind of confidence that people were in one group, better performing people were not concentrated because they were randomly assigned. That can be used as a justification to say that your results are valid. But random assignment is very difficult. Random assignment is difficult because if you have a small group of people, random assignment will not have very effective results. So random assignment can only be possible if you have a very large number of people. In that case, you can say that the effect of differences can be minimized by randomly assigning them to various groups. One way of dealing with this problem, dealing with the various different kind of variations which can lead to changes, for example, gender, or for example, age, or for example, previous background or educational level, these can be controlled. These can be reduced from the effect of your evaluation by using another method, which is using control variables. When you are conducting statistical analysis, when you are quantifying the results of your evaluation, you can use control variables. For example, if you use control variable of age, the results will be controlled for age, which means that the results will be free of the effect of age on what you have actually gained in your evaluation results. So you can use control variables that you can identify the variables that may affect your learning activity, that may affect your learning outcome, and by controlling that, you can reduce the effect of that from your actual results. So use of control variables can be used rather than random assignment, because random assignment can be very difficult, it can be time consuming, and it may not be effective in small groups. So these were the various different ways, using post-test, pre-test, using a comparison group, and random assignment or use of control variables, whichever is better in the situation, can lead to some improvement in the validity of your results and may reduce the effects of factors that have a threat on your internal and external validity. So now we are going to look at the various evaluation designs which can be used to measure training outcomes. What kind of evaluation design should be used? That depends on various different factors which we will discuss after we have discussed these evaluation designs. कि कौन सा evaluation design हमें choose करना चाहिए, कौन सा evaluation design pick करना चाहिए. But before that, we will discuss all that are possible. So first evaluation design that can be used is post-test only. That is the simplest form of evaluation design in which a post-test is conducted after the training has finished. A post-test only training design is appropriate when you are sure that the trainees that you have involved in the training program, they are from similar backgrounds, they have the same kind of aptitude, they have the same kind of knowledge, ability and skill. So when you can be sure in some other way, when you can be sure by knowing it through some other channel, then you should use a post-test design only. You can also use a post-test design with comparison groups. That can affect the validity of a post-test only design can be improved by using a comparison group. Comparison group can be used in the form of group that does not receive any training at all. एक ग्रुप आप वो ले लें जिनको ट्रेनिंग दी गई है और एक ग्रुप आप वो ले लें जिसको ट्रेनिंग नहीं दी गई है. और उसके अलावा आप ये भी कर सकते हैं कि अगर आप एक इवैल्यूएशन प्रोसेस में हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने ये देखना है कि कौन सा लर्निंग मेथड जो है वो बेहतर है, यू कैन यूज कंपैरिजन ग्रुप इन विच one group receives training in one way, another receives in another way. For example, one receives online training, one receives traditional training, one receives another kind of training. So different kind of training methods can be used to compare in a result which is designed as post-test only. Then another way of designing your evaluation is pre-test post-test. Pre-test post-test is an evaluation design in which you evaluate the trainees both before the training program and after the training program. So इस डिजाइन में आप कंपैरिजन ग्रुप नहीं यूज कर रहे. आप कंपैरिजन ग्रुप ऐसी सिचुएशन में यूज नहीं करना चाहेंगे जहां पर ट्रेनिंग सिर्फ एक बहुत छोटे ग्रुप को दी जा रही हो या जहां आप ये ना चाहते हो कि कुछ लोगों को एक्सक्लूड कर दिया जाए ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम में से. कंपैरिजन ग्रुप ऑब्वियसली वो ग्रुप है जो कि ट्रेनिंग नहीं ले रहा. आप चाह रहे हैं कि आप सबको ट्रेनिंग दें. सो जब आप सबको ट्रेनिंग देना चाह रहे हैं तो आप कंपैरिजन ग्रुप नहीं यूज कर सकते. सो ऐसी सिचुएशन में इट इज बेटर टू use a pre-test and then a post-test so that you can see the changes that have happened because of the learning activity. Another more complicated design of training is pre-test, post-test with comparison group. इसमें क्या है कि आप pre-test भी ले रहे हैं और आप post-test भी ले रहे हैं और comparison group भी रख रहे हैं. यानी कि आप एक ग्रुप को ट्रेनिंग देंगे, एक को नहीं देंगे. जिनको नहीं देंगे उनको भी आप प्री-टेस्ट में एवैल्यूएट करेंगे. उसके बाद आप एक ग्रुप को ट्रेनिंग देंगे, एक को नहीं देंगे और दोनों के एंड पे आप उनको पोस्ट टेस्ट में एवैल्यूएट करेंगे. सो इससे एक तो ये कि इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंसेस भी एक्सक्लूड हो जाएंगे. इसकी वजह से मैचुरेशन ग्रोथ का इफेक्ट भी एक्सक्लूड हो जाएगा. इसकी वजह से हिस्ट्री का इफेक्ट भी एक्सक्लूड हो जाएगा. सो ये एक काफी रिगरस इवैल्यूएशन डिजाइन है जिसमें आपके काफी सारे एक्सटर्नल और इंटरनल वैलिडिटी के थ्रेट्स जो हैं वो रिड्यूस हो जाएंगे. एक एग्जाम्पल देख लेते हैं. ये एक ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम कंडक्ट किया गया एम्प्लॉयज को कंप्यूटर स्किल्स सिखाने के लिए. और कंप्यूटर स्किल्स सिखाने के लिए अब जो ट्रेनर्स हैं वो ये भी देखना चाह रहे थे कि किस तरह से बेहतर सिखाया जा सकता है, लेक्चर से बेहतर सिखाया जा सकता है, या बिहेवियर मॉडलिंग से बेहतर सिखाया जा सकता है, या फिर सेल्फ पेस स्टडी जो है वो ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव है. सो इसमें उन्होंने क्या किया कि एक उन्होंने कंपैरिजन ग्रुप भी ले लिया जिनको ट्रेनिंग नहीं दी गई, और उन्होंने प्री टेस्ट ले लिया जिसमें उन्होंने एम्प्लॉयज का, देयर वर 40 एम्प्लॉयज इन ईच ग्रुप. There were 4 groups, one that received training through self-paced study, one that received training through behavior modeling, one that received training through lecture, and one that did not receive training at all. So there were 40 employees in each of that group, and they were given questions. They were tested through paper up pencil test, in which they were given 11 questions to answer, to see how well versed they were with the knowledge of computer. Then they were asked to for procedural replication as well, to show that they know how to use the computer. And then they were given 6 tasks on the computer to complete, like such as changing directories or tasks that are related to computer skills. So in this training, the trainers, they wanted to evaluate the effect of various different training activities, training methods, and wanted to compare that. So they used a pre-test, and then they used a post-test, and you can see that there was a pre-training test for all these groups, for lecture, for self-paced study, for behavior modeling, and the one that did not have any training. Then you can see that the 3 groups, they received training, and the 4th group, it did not receive any training at all. Then they were evaluated right after the training was finished. All the groups were evaluated for the first post-training test. This post-training test was used to see how much people had learned and what was the difference in their learning. And then another test was conducted 4 weeks after the training program had finished. And this test was conducted to see how much people were able to retain. कि वो 1 महीने के बाद 3 डिफरेंट ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स अटेंड करने वाले लोगों में से कौन से ऐसे लोग हैं जिन्होंने ज्यादा रिटेन किया, जिन्होंने ज्यादा अप्लाई किया. ट्रेनिंग ट्रांसफर जो है वो आपकी पोस्ट ट्रेनिंग टेस्ट नंबर 2 में सामने आई. सो इस तरह से आप ये डिटरमिन कर सकते हैं कि डिफरेंट ट्रेनिंग मेथड्स किस तरह से वेरी कर रहे हैं, किस तरह से कंपेयर किए जा सकते हैं. और फिर आपने एक और उसमें ग्रुप भी ऐड कर लिया जिनको ट्रेनिंग नहीं दी गई, ताकि आप बाकी जो थ्रेट्स हैं इंटरनल वैलिडिटी के ऊपर उनको कंट्रोल कर सकें. So this was quite a rigorous design of training. Then another kind of evaluation design is time series evaluation design. It is a design in which training outcomes are collected at periodic intervals both before and after training. So this is an evaluation design which uses a number of observations before the training, after the training, and during the training. The design of this evaluation can be improved by adding a component of reversal, a reversal time. Reversal time is a time period in which participants no longer receive the training intervention. So आप उनको ट्रेनिंग से पहले भी ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं और आपने नंबर ऑफ ऑब्जर्वेशंस रिकॉर्ड की, फिर आपने उनको ट्रेनिंग के दौरान भी कई दफा एवैल्यूएट किया, कई दफा ऑब्जर्व किया, और फिर आपने ट्रेनिंग इंटरवेंशन को रोक दिया, आपने ट्रेनिंग खत्म कर दी, और फिर आपने ये देखा कि रिवर्सल यानी कि ट्रेनिंग खत्म होने के बाद what is the behavior of the people, what is the performance of the people after the training intervention has been taken out. So you can also see that after the training concludes, how do people behave after the training has finished by adding the reversal time in that. This kind of an evaluation design can be used in situations where the behaviors or where the abilities can be observed in a readily observable manner. So this cannot be used to evaluate cognitive skills. It cannot be used to evaluate cognitive strategies. That is not possible to be conducted again and again. आप हर रोज या हर हफ्ते लोगों की आईक्यू टेस्ट नहीं ले सकते. आप हर हफ्ते लोगों का साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट नहीं ले सकते. सो ये उन बिहेवियर्स को, उन आउटकम्स को मेजर करने के लिए अप्रोप्रिएट है जो कि रेडिली ऑब्जर्वेबल. इसमें कौन से बिहेवियर्स पॉसिबल हो सकते हैं? फॉर एग्जाम्पल कस्टमर सर्विस. कस्टमर सर्विस को आप रेडिली ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं. फोन के ऊपर जो कस्टमर सर्विस प्रोवाइड की जा रही है उसको रेडिली ऑब्जर्व किया जा सकता है बाय रिकॉर्डिंग दैट. कैमरास लगे हो सकते हैं. फिजिकल कस्टमर सर्विस जहां पे प्रोवाइड की जा रही है आप उसको कॉन्टिन्यूसली ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं. एम्प्लॉयज के सेफ्टी बिहेवियर्स को आप कॉन्टिन्यूसली ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं. सो वो बिहेवियर्स जिनको आप इजीली रेडिली ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं और आप ये कह सकते हैं कि ये सेफ बिहेवियर है, ये फ्रेंडली कस्टमर सर्विस है, ये अच्छी कस्टमर सर्विस नहीं है. सो ऑब्जर्वेबल थिंग्स. सो इसमें एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको उसी ट्रेनिंग की देती हूँ जिसकी मैंने आपको एक दफा पहले भी एग्जाम्पल दी थी. ये वो कमर्शियल लार्ज स्केल कमर्शियल बेकरी है जिसमें हमने बात की थी कि एम्प्लॉयज जो हैं वो अनसेफ बिहेवियर्स शो कर रहे हैं, जिसमें वो कन्वेयर बेल्ट्स के ऊपर से स्किप करके जाते हैं और मशीन्स के अंदर बगैर स्टॉप किए उनको उसमें से जैम्ड मटेरियल को निकालने के लिए उसमें हाथ डाल देते हैं और इस तरह के वो अनसेफ बिहेवियर्स शो करते हैं. सो इनकी उन्होंने इस बेकरी लार्ज स्केल बेकरी में उन्होंने ट्रेनिंग करवाई ट्रेनर्स ने. और ये आप देख सकते हैं कि उन्होंने टाइम सीरीज वैल्यूएशन डिजाइन यूज किया एवैल्यूएशन करने के लिए. इसमें उन्होंने कंपैरिजन ग्रुप भी ऐड कर दिया. एक ग्रुप जो है उनको उन्होंने ज्यादा देर तक ऑब्जर्व किया और थोड़ी देर ट्रेनिंग दी, और एक ग्रुप को उन्होंने थोड़ी देर ऑब्जर्व किया और ज्यादा देर ट्रेनिंग दी और देखा कि उस ट्रेनिंग का क्या इफेक्ट आता है. सो एक जो ग्रुप था वो मेकअप डिपार्टमेंट है, एक रैपिंग डिपार्टमेंट है. मेकअप डिपार्टमेंट वो डिपार्टमेंट है जो कि इंग्रेडिएंट्स को प्रिपेयर करते हैं, डो को प्रिपेयर करते हैं, फिर उसको अवन में रखते हैं और अवन से निकालने वाला काम मेकअप डिपार्टमेंट करता है. और रैपिंग डिपार्टमेंट जो है वो सील लगाने का, लेबल करने का, पैकिंग करने का और फाइनल फिनिशिंग करने का काम जो है वो रैपिंग डिपार्टमेंट करता है. सो ये जब आप देख रहे हैं कि जो रैपिंग डिपार्टमेंट है वो आपको नजर आ रहा है, उनकी सेफ बिहेवियर्स ऑब्जर्व किए गए हैं और मेकअप डिपार्टमेंट के सेफ बिहेवियर्स ऑब्जर्व किए गए हैं. और देयर आर नंबर ऑफ ऑब्जर्वेशंस दैट हैव बीन टेकन. सो यू कैन सी दैट ऑन द एक्स एक्सिस there are the observation sessions and on the y-axis you can see the percentage of incidents performed safely. So पहले तो उन्होंने baseline performance को observe किया और वो आप देख रहे हैं कि baseline performance on the average 70% है, 60 to 70% है wrapping department में और 70 to 80% है makeup department में. So the wrapping department was observed for 5 weeks or for 20 observations. 20 observations के बाद उनकी ट्रेनिंग जो है वो शुरू कर दी जाती है. और आप ये देख सकते हैं कि ट्रेनिंग के दौरान उनकी जो safety behaviors की performance है, that goes up to more than 90%. So during the training intervention, they start showing or displaying safe behaviors for more than 90%, about 95% if you can draw a line from the line that you can see. And the makeup department, that is observed for 50 observations, that is for about 10 weeks, and then they are given the training intervention, and they also show that their safe behaviors go up to more than 90%, that is almost near 100%. So then they are given training for a short while, and both these groups, their training is finished after almost 60 to 62 observations, and after that their behavior is again observed. And interestingly, what happens is that when the training intervention is taken away, both of them, they come back to the unsafe behavior level. So इससे तो आपको ये पता लगा कि ट्रेनिंग का कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ. जब ट्रेनिंग इंटरवेंशन विड्रॉ कर ली गई तो दोनों डिपार्टमेंट्स के जो बिहेवियर्स हैं, दे रिग्रेस्ड बैक, दे केम बैक टू द बेस लाइन लेवल. But anyhow, this was an evaluation design which used a time series evaluation design, a number of observation before the training, during the training, and after the training. Another type of evaluation design which can get rid of most of the threats to internal and external validity is the Solomon 4-group design. A Solomon 4-group design is a very rigorous, very complex evaluation design. This design uses a pre-test and a post-test with a comparison group and another group which is used for post-test only. So this kind of a design, it can get rid of almost all kinds of threats to internal validity. You use a pretest, a group which is given a pretest, then a comparison group which is also given a pretest, and both these two groups, they appear in the post-test. And then you use another group which does not receive a pretest, and another comparison group which also does not receive a pretest, and they appear in the post-test only. So you use two groups which only appear in the post-test, and you use two groups which appear in pre-test and post-test, and you use comparison groups in both the combination. So इससे आपके जो internal validity के threats हैं, वो तकरीबन सारे जो हैं वो reduce हो जाते हैं, minimize हो जाते हैं. Let's look at an example of this Solomon 4-group design. An organization wanted to give training to its staff for manufacturing resource planning. It was a manufacturing organization, a manufacturing company, and manufacturing resource planning is similar to enterprise resource planning, ERP, जिसके बारे में आपने सुना होगा. And they wanted to give this training in two ways. And then they wanted to reduce the threats to internal and external validity. So they use a Solomon 4-group design for that. So to one group, they wanted to give training in a traditional method through lecture and case studies and so on. And to the other group, they wanted to give training through integrative learning. Integrative learning is in which first the trainees, they are made comfortable in the learning environment by making them participate in certain lively activities. Then they are asked to give opinion about what does enterprise resource planning, manufacturing resource planning means to them, what do they understand about them, and then their understanding is developed on the basis of the understanding that they have, And then they present the training material. The trainees, they themselves present the training material, and they participate in games and activities. And this is an integrative learning method through which training is given. So they wanted to see if there is any better effect of an integrated learning activity than the traditional method of learning. And they designed a Solomon 4-group design for this evaluation. So you can see in the slide that there are 4 groups, and group number 1 and group number 2, both of them, they were first of all given a pretest. Then group number 1 was given training through integrative learning. Group number 2 was given training through traditional methods. And then both of them were subjected to a post-test. Then there were group number 3 and 4, which did not receive any pretest. And both of them, group number 3, it received training through integrative learning, and group number 4 through traditional methods. And then both of them were subjected to a post-test. Results from all of them were compiled, and methods, statistical methods such as analysis of variance and analysis of covariance, it can be used to differentiate between the results from this group, and it can be concluded that whether the differences that are seen in these various groups, are they because of certain reasons or are they because of statistical chance or error. So this is a design, a Solomon 4-group design, could be used to analyze the effect of training and to isolate the effect of training from all the contaminating variables, from all the threats to internal validity. Those can be isolated from that. So the results that have been generated from this evaluation design, they can be sure, they can be with a certain level of confidence, it can be said that it was because of the training method, it was because of the training activity that the results have been different in these various groups. So a Solomon 4-group design can be used to get rid of most of the threats to internal and external validity. But if you compare these evaluation design on the basis of cost, time, and strength, because cost and time, both of these two things are very important resources, so you need to see that how much time and how much cost is incurred in all these evaluation designs. So in a post-test only, the cost is low, the time involved is low, but the strength of the results is also low. In a pre-test, post-test design, the cost is low, time is also not much required, and the strength is medium. With a post-test only with comparison group, the cost is medium because you need to include a comparison group which does not receive training, and comparison group which has to be taken away from its usual work routine. So you have to incur all the costs. So cost is medium, time is medium, and the strength is also medium. Then your pre-test, post-test with comparison group, the cost is medium, time is medium, and strength is quite high because you are using a pre-test and also a post-test and also a comparison group. So a number of threats to validity can be reduced in this design. A time series design, because there are a number of evaluations carried on, the cost is medium, time is also medium because you only conduct valuation in this sort of a design where there are observable behaviors. So time is medium and strength is also medium of this evaluation design. Then time series with comparison group. The cost of that is again high where there are comparison groups involved. The cost is high, time is medium, and strength is quite high. That in a time series with comparison group in which you take a number of observations before the training, then you take a number of observations during the training, and a number of observations after the training, and then you also use a comparison group. you can be quite sure that the strength of that is quite high. And finally, Solomon 4 group is highest in strength as compared to all of these evaluation designs, but it needs a lot of time. The time factor is also high and the cost factor is also high. So a Solomon 4 group design is, although it is very high in the power of the statistical analysis, in the power of the evaluation results, but it is also high in cost and time. So you have seen that although we want to go for the highest strength of the results, but again cost and time are factors that would limit our resources. And so we have to be rational and we have to use our judgment in determining whether we want to go for such a high level of analysis, such a rigorous kind of an evaluation design, or can we justify ourselves with a lesser rigorous evaluation design. So the factors that would be involved in determining, in making that decision that how rigorous we want our evaluation design to be, first of all is that, can the program be modified? Is it possible to modify the training program by getting these evaluation results? If the program cannot be modified, then there would be no need to conduct a very rigorous evaluation process to see whether there is any difference because of any external factors, because of environment, because of individual differences, because whatever the case, you cannot modify the training program. You cannot modify the way the training has been conducted. So if the program cannot be modified, then you should not go for a very rigorous evaluation design. Then the importance of that training program. Whether the training program, it relates to a critical training issue and a critical job issue which leads to a critical business issue. We discussed about this a number of times. So if it is related to a critical job issue, then your evaluation design should be quite rigorous. Then another factor is the scale of the training program. How many trainees are involved? If more trainees are involved, if a large number of trainees are involved, then the evaluation design should be rigorous. But if a very small number of people are involved, then the training evaluation design can be less rigorous. But then it also depends on the importance of that. If a very small number of people are involved, but they are the top management of your organization, which are going to affect the overall organization, which are going to affect the overall performance of the organization, then obviously it is an important training program in which people, although the number is small, but the people are very important in giving direction to your organization. So judgment is very important in coming to that decision. Another factor that affects your evaluation design decision is the organizational culture. Is demonstrating results part of company norms and expectations? अगर आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में परफॉर्मेंस नॉर्म्स ही नहीं है, परफॉर्मेंस एक्सपेक्टेशंस ही नहीं है, अगर आपकी कंपनी का कल्चर पैसिव है और उसमें परफॉर्मेंस को बहुत वैल्यू नहीं किया जाता, सो इसका ये मतलब है कि आपके ट्रेनिंग रिजल्ट्स जो भी होंगे परफॉर्मेंस के ऊपर उसका बहुत इफेक्ट नहीं होगा, क्योंकि नॉर्म्स जो हैं वो उस परफॉर्मेंस एक्सपेक्टेशन को अफेक्ट कर रहे हैं. Another factor that affects your evaluation design is expertise. Do you have the expertise in your organization to design a complex evaluation design? अगर आपके ट्रेनिंग डिपार्टमेंट में एक्सपर्ट्स ही नहीं हैं जो कि ये evaluation कैरी आउट कर सकते हैं, complex statistical analysis कर सकते हैं, तो फिर आप एक कॉम्प्लेक्स evaluation डिजाइन नहीं बना सकते. फिर आप कॉस्ट के बारे में देखते हैं कि आपके पास इतने रिसोर्सेज हैं कि आप इतना रिगरस डिजाइन बनाएं और उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करें. एंड देन फाइनली द टाइम फ्रेम, कि आपको रिजल्ट्स कब चाहिए. अगर आपको रिजल्ट्स जो हैं वो फौरन चाहिए तो देन यू नीड टू रिस्ट्रिक्ट योर evaluation डिजाइन टू अ लिमिटेड पोस्ट टेस्ट which can give quick results. So you cannot go for time series and you cannot go for a number of evaluations after the training has finished. So you need to restrict your evaluation to a specific given time frame. So you need to see that what is the time frame in which the results are required. So these are the various factors that determine the rigorousness, the complexity, and the depth of analysis of your evaluation design. Now we are going to talk about return on investment. How can we determine return on investment? How can we determine return on investment through a statistical, through a mathematical, quantitative way? Return on investment can be calculated through a cost-benefit analysis, which is a process of determining the economic benefits of a training program using accounting methods that look at training costs and benefits. So return on investment is determined by taking the proportion of benefits to costs. So it is a cost-benefit analysis. First of all, in that what you will need to do is to determine the costs. In order to determine the cost, you need to take into account a number of various aspects of the cost, and for that you can use two types of methods to determine cost. One method is resource requirement model. So the resource requirement model is method of determining costs in which costs related to various phases of the training design, they are determined. So how much costs were incurred in needs assessment, how much were incurred in design, then in development, then in implementation and evaluation. That is how the costs are determined for the entire training program. But another more customary method of evaluating costs is the accounting method. Accounting method is the method of determining costs in which accounting principles are used to determine the costs of the training program. So there are 7 categories in which costs are allocated. These categories are program development or purchase, instructional material for trainers and trainees, equipment and hardware, facilities, travel and lodging, salary of trainer and support staff, and cost of lost productivity. And then these costs, they are divided into indirect and direct costs. Indirect costs are those which cannot be allocated to a specific training program, whereas direct costs are those which can be specifically directly allocated to a particular training program. Then when you are determining benefits have to be determined in a little bit creative way, because at times it is not always easy to convert different kinds of benefits into some monetary numbers. So in order to get a hint or get a guideline for determining benefits, you can look at technical, academic and practitioner literature, that what are the different ways in which benefits have been determined in this particular industry. Then you can pilot train your programs. You can conduct a pilot training and see what benefits are received after conducting a pilot training rather than you go for full launch of your training program. Then you can look at the successful job performers, that after receiving a particular training program, what are the behaviors that are different from the successful job performers than the unsuccessful job performers, and the difference of behavior can give you a guideline what to observe, what benefits to expect from a particular training program. And then you can get estimates from trainees and their managers. You can also get the estimates of the benefits you are receiving from a particular training program, from a particular activity, and the managers and the trainees, they calculate these estimates that this is the benefit that has been received, such as this is the number of minutes that were saved because of a particular training, this is the number of units that were increased, the productivity that was increased because of this training. So you can then convert that into some kind of a number. It is not always possible to convert everything into a number, but the return on investment calculation, that should be done only in those scenarios in which the benefits can be justifiably, logically, and reasonably converted into some kind of numbers. So we will look at an example of this cost and benefit analysis. This is an example of a wood plant in which wood panels are produced, which contractors use in building material. लकड़ी के पैनल्स बनाए जाते हैं जो कि कंस्ट्रक्शन मटेरियल में यूज होते हैं, और ये एक ऐसा वुड प्लांट है. इसमें 300 वर्कर्स हैं, 48 सुपरवाइजर्स हैं, 7 शिफ्ट सुपरिटेंडेंट्स हैं और 1 प्लांट मैनेजर है. जो प्रॉब्लम ये लोग फेस कर रहे थे वो ये था कि देयर वर 2% ऑफ द वुड पैनल्स दैट वर वेस्टेड बिकॉज ऑफ लेसर क्वालिटी, एंड देन देयर वर inappropriate housekeeping conditions such that the panels were stacked in a way in which they would fall down on the workers. वो गिर जाते थे क्योंकि वो सही तरह से उनको स्टैक नहीं करते थे, उनको तरतीब से रखते नहीं थे. और तीसरा जो प्रॉब्लम था वो ये कि एक्सीडेंट्स जो थे वो इंडस्ट्री एवरेज से ज्यादा थे. सो इन्होंने ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम कंडक्ट किया. Training was given to the supervisors, the shift superintendents, and the plant manager to reduce these behaviors, to improve the quality, and to make people follow safe behaviors, and to improve the housekeeping conditions. Now let's look at how the costs have been determined in that cost-benefit analysis. You can see that there are 5 categories of costs: direct costs, indirect costs, development cost, overhead costs, and compensation of trainees. Direct costs में instructor की salary है, fringe benefits हैं, travel expenses हैं, materials हैं, classroom space and audiovisual equipment, and refreshment for each day. So these are the total direct costs, $6,507. Indirect costs are training management, clerical and administrative salaries, fringe benefits, postage, shipping and telephone, pre and post training learning material. Now you can see that the pre and post training learning material is not a direct cost. So the total indirect costs are $1,161. Development costs are in a separate head. This is the fee for the program purchase, the fee that was paid to purchase the program, $3,600. Instructor training, the trainer who was used as an instructor was given another training, and the registration fee, the travel and lodging, the salary and benefits of this expense, they are allocated to the development costs. So the total development costs are $6,756. And then overhead costs, general organizational support, top management time. So 10% of direct, indirect, and development costs is added into overhead costs. And this is the trainees' salaries and benefits based on time away from the job. So this is the amount which the time that they spent during the training, which if they had spent during the work, the salary which was given to them for this compensation, that is also included in the cost. So the total training costs of this program are $32,836, and the cost per trainee comes out to be $587. Now you have to determine benefits. Determining benefits, that is a little bit difficult thing. So for determining benefits of the training, there were 3 problems that were detected. The first problem was quality of the panels. So how is it measured? By the percentage rejected. I told you that 2% were rejected, which means 1440 panels per day. Training ke baad, this percentage, it came down to 1.5% rejected, which means 1080 panels per day. This means that 360 panels were saved because of the training per day. That turns out to be $720 per day and a total of $172,800 per year. So this is how you convert the quality of improvement of the panels into a dollar number. Then the second thing was housekeeping, that the finished panels, they were not stacked appropriately. Uske liye, they measured it through visual inspection using a 20-item checklist. पहले उन्होंने देखा ट्रेनिंग से पहले तो 10 डिफेक्ट्स थे, ट्रेनिंग के बाद 2 डिफेक्ट्स थे. जो इम्प्रूवमेंट हुई है वो 8 डिफेक्ट्स की है, बट दिस इज नॉट मेजरेबल इन dollars. This cannot be converted into dollars. Then the third thing was preventable accidents. उनके number of accidents जो थे वो बहुत ज़्यादा थे industry average से. So the number of accidents were 24 per year. And they calculated that the direct cost of those accidents was 144 per year. After the training, the accidents were reduced to 16 per year, and the cost of these 16 accidents per year came down to 96,000 per year. So because of the training, they were able to save $48,000 per year. So $48,000 saved per year because of preventable accidents, and $172,800 saved because of quality of panels. That comes to a total of $220,800 per year. So in order to calculate return on investment, you will divide return with investment. So return is $220,800, and the investment, which were the training costs that we calculated, those were $32,836. So the return on investment is 6.7. So that means that for every $1 that you spent on training, a return of $6.7 has been received by your organization. So this is how you calculate a return on investment, by calculating costs, calculating benefits, and by dividing benefits by the costs that have been incurred for the training program. This concludes our discussion about the topic of training evaluation. I hope that you understand the various aspects and dimensions of this topic. Next time we are going to talk about a new topic which will be related to training methods. Therefore, until next time, Allah Hafiz.